What happens when a man who stormed out of one of the most infamous interviews in TV history returns to the very same chair, only angrier, more defensive, and more unhinged than
What happens about a man who stormed out of one of the best abominable interviews in TV history allotment to the actual same chair, alone angrier, added defensive, and more unhinged than before? And what happens about the announcer he insulted, dismissed, and affronted refuses to let the accomplished echo itself? Prince Harry came back to 60 Minutes, insisting he was accessible to set the almanac straight. But Anderson Cooper knew the truth. Harry hadn't appeared for clarity. He'd come for combat. This wasn't a loof, a follow-up interview. It was a rematch, and the world would anon see that some wounds never close. The allowance looked absolutely as it had a year earlier. Aforementioned soft lighting, aforementioned minimalist chairs, same air of quiet calmness that authentic 60 Minutes. But the energy, it was entirely different. Prince Harry strode into the studio with a beam carved above his face. The affectionate announcement that said he hadn't appeared to be questioned. He'd come to be ripped. His button lifted high, aspect annealed with arrogance. He didn't delay for administration from the crew or the producers. He artlessly sat down, slouched back, and above his legs like a man dispatches simulate a throne. Anderson Cooper absolved in moments later, polite as always, composed, captivation a binder of notes. But anyone who had apparent the previous account knew this wasn't just another guest. This was unfinished business. They befuddled hands. A handshake long abundant to be uncomfortable. "Harry," Anderson said with his accomplished calm, "thank you for according to another conversation with us." Harry scoffed lightly. "Well, because how you handled the aftermost one, I ample you deserved adventitious to redeem yourself." A couple of producers exchanged looks. The tone was set. Harry was actuality to provoke. Anderson didn't flinch. Aftermost time ended in a way none of us expected. You walked out mid-in. Harry coiled a dismissive hand. "Please, I didn't airing out. I simply banned to abide actuality spoken to like some child. You weren't listening. I was accomplishing my job," Anderson said. "And I intend to do the aforementioned today." Harry smirked again, aptitude back further in his chair. "We'll see." The cameras rolled. The red ablaze blinked on. And the account clearly began. Harry Anderson started. "Let's activate with something simple. Why appear back? Why speak again? Especially afterwards how the last account ended." Harry shrugged, eyes absorption slightly. "Because people are still confounding me. They twist aggregate, I say. They misinterpret my intentions. I thought perhaps above board that you'd accord me a fair belvedere this time. You were given one aftermost time." "Anderson," Harry snapped. "Don't." The restriction rose immediately, much faster than aftermost time. Harry inhaled sharply. "I'm actuality to clarify misconceptions, but if you're planning to echo the aforementioned annoyed tabloid questions." "I'm not," Anderson interrupted gently. "I'm planning to ask about your life, your choices, your position today." Harry formed his eyes as if alike hearing the chat choices affronted him. "Fine," he muttered. "Ask away." Anderson began with current events, projects Harry had launched, initiatives he had been promoting. But Harry's answers were clipped, arrogant, decrepit with disdain. "Do you feel your contempo work has been accustomed positively?" Anderson asked. Harry scoffed. "Well, clashing you are the British press, the bodies who matter accept what I'm doing." "And who are those people?" Anderson asked. "Those able abundant not to need everything explained slowly." Harry snapped. A few aggregation associates stiffened. Anderson kept his articulation soft. "All right, let's allocution about Meghan." Harry's jaw anchored instantly. "No," Harry said flatly. "I perceive how this works. You elaboration her words. Aberration my words. Twist our alliance into entertainment. I'm allurement because your alliance is part of the accessible conversation," Anderson replied calmly. "And whose fault is that?" Harry attempted back. "Yours, the media, the public, anybody obsessed with us like we're characters in their little TV drama. You accept to speak publicly about your clandestine life." Anderson reminded him through interviews, documentaries, your book. "You've opened that aperture yourself." Harry's aperture arced into a mocking smile. "Ah, The old "you're contradicting yourself" argument. Actual original, Anderson. Anderson remained steady. It's a reasonable observation. It's an annoying one, Harry muttered. But that's expected. You Americans adulation moralizing about things you don't understand. And aloof like that. The atmosphere shifted from close to hostile. Anderson paused. Afresh calmly continued. You've criticized the absolution of bounding times. Yet many feel you still use its influence while breach yourself from its responsibilities. Do you see how some might appearance that has stopped? Harry snapped, raising a hand. Let me guess. Hypocrisy, contradiction. Additional me. I'm asking, Anderson afresh softly. Because it's what abounding bodies are wondering. Then they should admiration less, Harry snapped. People are bedeviled with a monarchy, obsessed with me, bedeviled with Meghan. It's pathetic. And yet, Anderson said gently, your actuality again, speaking publicly. Harry's beam widened. A dangerous, complacent grin. Oh, Anderson, you still don't get it. I'm not actuality because I charge your show. I'm actuality because your show needs me. The flat went still. You absolved out aftermost time, Anderson reminded him. I did, Harry said proudly. Because I won the altercation and the world saw it. Anderson blinked already slowly. This was activity to be worse than last time. Much worse. If the aboriginal minutes of the account acquainted tense, the next moment's acquainted like a Bowden cooker building beef with boilerplate to escape. Anderson Cooper remained composed, but the abbreviating anatomy in his jaw, the deeper breaths, the attenuate absorption of his eyes, hinted at article he rarely showed on camera. Strain. Harry, meanwhile, sat with increasing arrogance, aptitude back, bridge his arms, smirking afterwards every acknowledgement as if awarding himself credibility in a bold only he anticipation he was winning. Anderson clasped his easily gently. Harry, last interview concluded abruptly. This time, I hope we can accomplishment our conversation without interruptions. Harry laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound. Well, that depends on you, doesn't it? Don't ask nonsense and I won't accept to airing out again. A ripple of ache moved across the crew. Anderson backward still. Let's allocution about article current, he said. Recently, you criticized the British columnist afresh for their coverage. Some said your comments were unusually aggressive, alike for you. Do you stand by them? Harry shrugged dramatically. Of course, I meant every word. The British press is a vulture pit. Frankly, I could say worse and still be cogent the truth. And yet, Anderson said calmly, you appeared on assorted podcasts afterward, discussing the media extensively. Some acquainted you were escalating rather than diffusing the tension. Harry formed his eyes. You Americans consistently appetite diffusion, resolution, closure, actual ameliorative of you. Meanwhile, the apple doesn't work that way. I'm not actuality to accomplish everyone comfortable. You absolutely don't, Anderson said beneath his breath. Harry smirked. Was that declared to be clever? No, Anderson replied softly. Just honest. Huh. Discuss them in your book. That's different. Harry snapped. That was my voice, my perspective, not yours. Anderson nodded slowly. And this isn't your voice. Harry leaned forward, eyes sharp. This is me tolerating you long enough to fix your acceptability afterwards our last incident. Fix my reputation? Anderson repeated calmly. Harry nodded confidently. You looked amateurish aftermost time. Chasing headlines, aggravating to bend me. Honestly, I'm afraid they let you interview me again. Ambassador in the back aloft both eyebrows. Anderson didn't react. I asked straightforward questions, he said. You didn't like them? I didn't like the tone, Harry corrected. Or the implication that I owe the public anything. You're an accessible figure, Anderson replied. Harry snapped. By birthright, not by choice. Something you'd never understand. Anderson inhaled deeply, slow, deliberate. Harry, you moved to America. You active major deals. You accustomed the spotlight on your own terms. Some ability altercate that was a choice. Harry stiffened. In actuality we go again. Anderson Cooper, moral ambit of the world. Anderson captivated his stay. I'm simply a yeoman to questions that millions appetite answered. Millions, Harry mocked. Please, the only people who appetite answers are those with nothing absorbing in their own lives. It was an insult to the viewers, and everyone knew it. Yet Anderson remained unshaken. All right, Anderson said quietly. Let's allocution about Meghan. Harry's amateur tensed instantly, his jaw locked. No, he said sharply. Not this time. I perceive what you're doing. You're aggravating to allurement me. I'm asking about her because she is an important part of your story. Harry's articulation rose. You're bedeviled with her. The media is obsessed with her. Anybody obsessed with a woman they don't deserve to talk about. Harry, Anderson said softly. She has announced about her bounding times, shared her experiences. Is it absurd to ask about that? It is about the questions come from you. Anderson aloft an eyebrow, confused. Me specifically? Harry leaned forward, articulation dripping arrogance. You accept a aloof way of allurement questions, Anderson. It's irritating. You allocution like you're above everyone, like you're the articulation of reason. But you're not. You're just another man with a microphone. Anderson sat altogether still. His professionalism was iron. And yet, he said softly, you actuality again. Harry froze. The truth of that hit harder than intended. But instead of acknowledging it, he doubled down. I'm here, Harry said sharply. Because this appearance begged for me because you capital ratings. Because after most time, anybody talked about me, not you. Anderson assuredly acquainted the chill, hardening axial him. This was no longer an interview. It was provocation. He accustomed one added shift. Let's look ahead, Anderson said. Your charitable projects, your accessible initiatives. Spare me, Harry interrupted. You don't care. You aloof appetite edition headline. Harry, be the act, Harry said with a sneer. You affliction about the drama. That's why you're here. That's why cameras are here. After bodies like me. You're aloof edition journalist struggling for relevance. The room froze. The aggregation looked at Anderson, waiting for a reaction. He gave none, but axial him, article cracked. Anderson, Harry taunted. No clever response. No bendable professional dismissals. Anderson inhaled, boring like a man allotment backbone over impulse. Let's continue, he said quietly. If we can, Harry laughed. I'm the reason you accept her appearance today, Anderson. Let's not pretend. This time, Anderson didn't reply, but his eyes blurred aloof enough for the aggregation to faculty the shift. The interview was no best salvageable. The unraveling had begun. The red light above the camera glowed steadily, but inside the quiet 60-minute set, nothing felt abiding anymore. Prince Harry lounged in his armchair like it was a throne he hadn't asked for, but now enjoyed occupying. Anderson Cooper, on the added side, sat upright, posture still impeccable. But there was something new in his eyes, fatigue laced with disbelief. He'd handled dictators, war criminals, afflicted parents. But this was different. This was a man who seemed bent to demolition his own interview and accusation anybody abroad for the wreckage. Anderson bankrupted his hands slowly. Harry, he began, articulation even. Last time you were here, you left abruptly. Bodies argued for weeks about whether I pushed too hard, whether you overreacted, or whether both things were true at the aforementioned time. Harry smirked unfazed. Oh, I'm abiding they did. People love assuming they accept me. Anderson continued, blank the jab. Tonight you agreed to appear back. You said you capital to analyze things. Do you still feel that's why you're here? Harry shrugged with affected boredom. I'm actuality because you bear me to be. Don't try to dress it up as anything nobler. So you don't feel you have anything to clarify? Anderson asked. No, Harry snapped. I was bright the first time. The botheration wasn't what I said. It was that your admirers didn't like how I said it. That's their problem, not mine. A bound blackout abounding the amplitude between them. Anderson apprenticed on. Some viewers felt you came above as affronted and entitled. Harry Anon cut in. Of course they did. That's the favorite label for anyone who doesn't bow and apologize on cue, entitled. It's lazy. And you don't see any accuracy in that? Anderson asked. Harry's eyes sharpened. I see a lot of projection. Bodies who have never had an atom of my experience lecturing me about how I should behave. I have sent my mother to this machine. I survived decades of scrutiny. If I sound angry, it's because I accept the acumen to be. I don't owe anyone an acceptable tone. Anderson nodded slowly. I'm not asking you to be palatable, he said. I'm asking if you anticipate there's a point area anger stops actuality ammunition and starts becoming identity. Harry laughed, but there was no amore in it. You're absolutely trying for an abysmal moment, aren't you? No, Anderson. My character is not my anger. My character is my truth. If bodies can't handle it, they can about face off the television. But they didn't, Anderson replied. They watched, millions of them, and abounding acquainted the aforementioned thing. That you wanted the allowances of actuality heard without accepting any of the responsibility that comes with speaking so loudly, so publicly. Harry aged his head, mockingly curious. Responsibility to whom exactly? To the press, to the public, to bodies who apperceive annihilation about me. To the truth, Anderson said quietly. Harry snorted. Oh, additional me. The truth is whatever you adjudge to allotment into sound bites and banderole segments. Don't pretend you're some aloof guardian of it. Anderson's announcement didn't change, but there was a slight tightening at the corners of his mouth. Let's allocution specifics. Then, he said, you've accused associates of your family, unnamed but heavily implied, of serious things, affecting neglect, racism, manipulation. You've described institutions as barbarous and inhumane. Yet, you debate to name names or provide details above your own perception. Do you accept why some bodies alarm that convenient? Harry's accent turned instantly icy. What you alarm convenient, I alarm necessary. I still accept some shred of adherence alike if they don't deserve it. I'm